My name is Carissa with the Sickle Foundation out of Tallahassee, Florida. And I'm here today with Miss Teo from Selfcare. And we are, of course, talking about self-care, but with a whole new direction. We are wanting to tap into the topic around affordable self-care. She and I kind of hit on a post from a influencer or another mental health therapist, and her name was I got my notes because I wanted to credit this person big time, and I think her name was Tamula Gordon, and she brought up how our health and wellness community promotes self-care. It's almost political, right? And this is what she said, I quote, if the self-care you promote is not accessible to people who navigate marginalized intersections, such as Black and brown folks, queer folks, those living with disabilities like sickle cell, any chronic illnesses, etc., then that means that the self-care is exclusive, and exclusive self-care is trash. That's what she said. And I love that. I don't think I heard anyone or seen anyone point this out, because that's the reality for a lot of us out here living in the real world, okay? Or we think it's bubble bath and going to the spa every week, and realistically that's not what self-care looks like for a lot of us. And you and I shared that, you commented on it, and that's when we were like, we gotta talk about it.
We gotta talk about this. Yes,
we gotta talk about it.
One thing is that I do these self-care talks and initiatives throughout the sickle cell community and the chronic illness community. And one thing that they say so much is that it's not accessible to them. How can I practice this? Most people don't feel that they not even deserve, that they can't obtain self-care. It's not something that they can touch, so they don't try it. They don't know where to begin. And so it's almost like you're telling me to do something that I can't even begin to even know where to start.
That is so true.
And so that is a big issue. And sometimes I'm like, I just want to grab them through the phone and just say, self-care is not what you're thinking it is.
Right.
And that's, if you start there, you'll realize that I can't have self-care. I can't do small things that is considered self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurts me to realize that people are glamorizing it to a point where it's not obtainable for the average person. So
that's it. That's the point.
That's it.
It's not obtainable to the average person, because I could say I fell into that category, and I fall in that category because when you automatically think about self-care in society, it's always, you got to spend money, you got to go on a vacation, or you got to be in this extravagant space in order to receive some form of self-care. And self-care looks different. Of course, we hit on that. I think the real education behind what self-care can look like to those that feel like they can't obtain it is missing, because I don't think they are aware of what affordable ways they could self-care for themselves, the creativity. I think we're missing those like us that are eager to get out here and say, hey, we're going to look at where you are, look at what you have, what can you do physically, what can't you do, and let's think. It's the critical thinking that's missing too, because it's not a one size fits all thing, that whole saying, but that's true.
and I think it goes a lot into your surroundings, because my surroundings may be different from the next person. What they see visually around them, their friends, their friend group, their family, and everything else is like, I don't see anyone around me even practicing self-care. I don't know what that looks like. How can I already have a illness. My surrounding does not let me my surroundings me living in the area that I live in, that I don't see myself being able to even talk about self-care within my household. It's not even, if I open my mouth and say self-care and say, I'm going to set a boundary with a family member or this person or that person, you know what that, you're going to be shot down. You're going to be almost blackballed for even trying to do that, trying to take care of yourself. So you're in an area sometimes where you cannot see outside of where you already are. And that is the hardest part when it comes to telling people just, hey, you practice self-care. And we're yelling at them and they don't get that it is an underline to self-care. So I myself feel guilty sometimes for saying practice self-care, but I'm like, come to these smaller, intimate settings so we can dive into what does that look like for you. Because me saying that, posting, just, practice boundaries. What does that look like for somebody? What is that? It sounds good because I understand it. I have a mindset that can grasp creating boundaries. I can grasp what does it mean to do simple things for self-care, waking up in the morning and have a routine and sit by the window. For someone, sitting by the window means you're surrounded by a very bad outside. You don't want to look out the window.
Right. Because then you're getting into isolation, possible isolation. And then we have to start educating them on the difference between solitude and isolation.
That is a big one. Even me practicing self-care, I'm like, I need to balance that. Am I in isolation or am I in solitude?
Right.
And that line is so thin.
Because it can feel like solitude you're isolated, and isolation doesn't connect you to anyone when solitude does.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is a big thing.
Right. But just you saying that looking out the window for some may not be practical because of their environment and where they are. But then that's where we need more individuals in village, more supportive village and community. I don't like to use this word, but in this context, I'm going to say the more privileged health and wellness leaders in the community who know this is needed. I think, and that's what Tamala Gordon pointed out as well. She said, we need those that are more privileged. If we are really a community, we need to really, really try to help those, whether it's the check-in or try to create these spaces for them. Because then you're getting into those that are disabled. What if they're in a wheelchair, or what if they're autistic? Are we able to connect with them, have the communication skills to be able to be, safe space?
Meeting people where they are. And a lot of the people who are pushing,
I love when you say
self-care. And because a lot of people who are pushing self-care have never even done anything in the community. So they don't know how to relate, how it looks for some people. They never even heard someone's story who is outside of that elite group. So you're asking people to do something that you don't even know what that looks like for them, and you don't care too. Some people don't really care
to even think that far.
I feel like I have been doing community work for years.
Yeah.
And when I speak self-care, I'm like, I need to go a little bit deeper because I know what they need. I know what the community needs. I know they need mental. I know it goes further than me just saying, put a boundary, go outside, drink I've experienced it. So I know what's needed, but I was like, I'm not doing my part. So I need to reconstruct what selfish self-care does and how it actually touches the community. And what does that look like for someone who can't even begin to think of self-care as an option?
I like that.
They're just learning. A lot of people are just learning what the word self-care really means.
It's so many layers to that conversation that I think most stop at layer 5 at spas, and then that's it.
That's it.
Because we're hitting on those, like you said, some people don't know how to communicate or meet people where they are. And I saw someone bring up a point when you're in this genre of support for the community, and when I say genre of support, health and wellness, because there's so many different modalities to it that we can offer. But then you have those that aren't even trauma informed. Mm-hmm. They don't understand. There may be women, okay, example, yoga. It's one of those things, everyone, let's create a community yoga class. All ages are welcome. That's great. All ages, all colors. But then you have women who aren't uncomfortable with going out and being maybe in front of the opposite sex. Or they may prefer to be one-on-one, or they may prefer a more intimate closed space. I'm one guilty. You know, I know there are women or those that identify as women that may prefer certain spaces where they feel comfortable in their body, and not felt like an oddball. You know, it's like going to the gym. I'm one, I don't like going to a co-ed gym.
I don't go to the gym.
I don't go to the gym, period.
Me neither. People keep thinking like, what? I don't like it. I'd rather be outside. Me too. I'd rather be outside. Yep.
Yes.
I don't want to be in a setting pressured to, I don't know what it is. It just does something to me.
So if, you know, and in yoga too, that's another conversation, because when you think yoga, people automatically think I'm not flexible enough. I'm not skinny enough. I can't reach my toes. You got more different sizes and shapes. And these people want to be included as well. But then I wouldn't feel comfortable. I try to put myself in their shoes to think like, I desire to go in these spaces to be included, but do I have those that look like me or maybe think like me, or you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. It's I go that far. I'm an observer, and I observe energies, and I'm trying to, is this person comfortable?
And good. Like even sometimes I look at the instructor, like, is the instructor gonna give, like,
yeah,
I think too deep sometimes.
Man, I listen.
It can stop you from actually going in those settings, but sometimes it's something that I do to, like, I'm thinking I'm protected. It's a form of protection of your surroundings.
That's it.
Spaces that you're in. I'm very funny about the spaces I'm in sometimes.
Right.
So
I'm looking out for everyone. I think.
Yes.
I'm looking out for everyone because I want everyone to feel comfortable no matter how they look, what age. I think too, it comes with being such a child advocate. I look for cues, nonverbal cues, body language. I'm watching body language. I'm watching all of those things. And as someone who, you know, as an adult, ADHD, things like that, not being heard, I pay attention to that, and I try as best I can. So I can imagine, again, when the community is offering these spaces for the community to come out and have a self-care meetup, it's sort of hard because it's not always meeting the needs to everyone. It's like a default one thing, and not everyone is able to include themselves. And I'm sure they want to, because I've been there. One, they may not be able to afford it or make it there.
And one thing is like the thing is that not every setting can always include everyone, because it's always going to be something missing, because everyone don't know how to plan for everyone. I personally wouldn't know how to plan for someone with something I've never seen before. I don't know what their needs are. It's hard for me to figure out what someone who is, I can go off of what I know, and how much do I really know? And sometimes that go into creating just a safe space so they can let you know what's needed. And I think that's why I said smaller settings are always great. Having conversations, because I can right now say what someone with a certain chronic illness need, but I can't tell you what someone with, I'm going to say, a I'm going to say queer. I'm going to say, how would they feel comfortable in that setting fully?
Right.
I can only
representation does matter.
Yeah. So representation does matter. And I think that's one of the biggest things. It's like being inclusive, adding people to that so they can know what's needed, bringing more people to the table of saying, okay, this is needed from this community. This is needed from this community. And I don't think those conversations are had enough, like around everyone being included in the conversation of what's really needed.
You brought up a good point, because you don't see, that's a leader. To me, that's a leader that identifies, look, I may not be equipped to offer this space, but I know somebody. And that comes with networking, because I'm the same way. I am as honest as upfront. Look, if it ain't my specialty and I'm not experienced, I will let you know, look, but I got a good friend, a mentor, or a kindred, somebody in my village that is more qualified to meet your need. Let me talk to them. You see what I mean? And, and to have those like that, see that is a missing link, because we see a lot of, I feel like too many are trying to.
It's only one person spreading the narrative, one type of person spreading the narrative.
Exactly. I think
those people with the powerful platforms are not being inclusive enough in saying, hey, how do this person practice it? How does this, what are the needs of these other people? And a lot of times that's why people who feel that they are different go into a corner, because once I tell you I'm different, now I'm no longer like you. And so now I'm afraid, I already know you're going to treat me differently. And so I'd rather just go over here, because I know I'm safe. I know my needs will be met. I know what I need, And so I think that people with bigger platforms, bigger,
right,
should display that a little bit more.
I absolutely agree with you on that. Because I too have been guilty of being convinced to spend money that I shouldn't have spent in spaces that I didn't really feel relatable or resonated in. And so that distorts the whole point of you being there. It messes it up. So then it's so many. It's like a domino effect of things. The money, being charged money to just be able to breathe.
Yes, just being in the setting.
And that breaks my heart in itself, because I've dealt with, and I don't know if you could relate, I think we briefly touched on it, the guilt of being a community leader, of even placing a dollar sign on certain parts of community service. And that has eaten me up. I've been doing community service since I was about 19.
I was like, why are we charging this crazy number for people to come and feel better about themselves? Like,
it eats me up. It eats me up.
There's no space that is free, like that can give you someone, not even, okay, if it's not free, give it at a okay amount, as to where
donation based
for that. Yes, a donation, or it's affordable, or it's accessible to someone who needs it, but now they can't go because you've made it so exclusive as to where I'm not really invited regardless.
Right, because if we're tying it into those with the chronic illnesses, because let's go back to those with chronic illnesses and disabilities, right? They're already dealing with medical issues, and money is involved. Money is involved.
So the stress, trying to pay your bills and do other stuff, but I really need this for my mental health, for my life, just for my livelihood, just to get away from my everyday, day-to-day things. I can't do that, because now they want to charge me $600 that I don't even have to do it.
Or the money's being spent on transportation, get to doctors, food. Did I eat today?
Everything.
Did I have water? Things like that is not being thought of. Literally, people are debating, do I eat today or do I put it in gas?
Yes.
Those are questions that the families and individuals are dealing with right now.
Real life issues, real things.
And we want to say, go breathe, go slow down.
Go to a yoga retreat, go and do this and do that.
I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for dinner tonight.
Yes.
Or to feed the children, because then you add children in the mix. Because imagine a mother who can't slow down, and I could speak that from my experience.
Or even a mother who was forced to slow down because she had a episode or a flare up, and you still have to take care of the house with your flare up. Where is the space for self-care for that?
Preventative maintenance is lacking.
Yes.
By not having a choice to be able to breathe. And that's reality for a lot of us. Reality. Like my self-care, I remember looking back, and if anybody watches this, I know if you're a mom or parent, but I remember looking back on how we talked about self-care. Every time we talk about it, it evolves in conversation, and I love that. Because looking back on 3 years, I was so hard on myself for not having the self-care formula, the aesthetics, when really my self-care has evolved in what fits in my lifestyle. Because you see what I mean? And I got chills just thinking about it, because I had to give myself grace to know that, Carissa, your self-care may be just going outside and just standing there or sitting there. And it's okay if you don't do yoga. It's okay as long as you're breathing and you did drink your water, because I wasn't drinking my water. That is the self-care for me, saying no more. I made a vow with my kids. Look, if mommy gets up, mommy eats her breakfast first. I love you. And if mommy doesn't eat, because I feed everybody else and it hits lunchtime.
My energy.
Right. So that was my self-care. I had to sort of like change my perspective. Like, it's okay if you don't get up like Shannon did on IG at 6:00 and did 30 minutes of yoga. Then she had the perfect breakfast, and then she did the perfect da-da-da-da. It don't work like that for me.
You have to do what works for you. And that is what really self-care is. It's like finding that balance of what works for you, because that we do get caught up in looking at how someone goes to the gym every day. Physically, I cannot be in the gym every day, but I admire, and I sometimes will push myself and say, I don't go to the gym, but I will push myself to say, I need to work out like this person so my body can look like this and I can feel like that, because that's what she told me you will feel like, because I'm just listening to what she told me. And I'm not even thinking about my body can't physically ever get that small. My body
reality check.
Yes, my body can't physically move like that 5 days a week and actually physically feel well after that. Wow. I can't eat what she ate, because it's going to cause me to not feel well, because I can't eat certain foods. And I'm just following her recipe because she told me to. And I never looked and said, Taya, what do you need? What can you actually do? So someone got mad at me because I said, you know what? I'm going to walk. I can't work out. And so someone was like, you like an old lady. You just want to walk. I said, this is all that I can do.
And that's your boundary.
You're not going to make me feel bad because I am young. And instead of me pushing myself, trying to go to the gym, knowing every time I go, it sets me back for like 2 weeks.
Do those experience trigger pain crisis?
Yep, exactly. The minute I step foot inside of a gym, I get it just. So now I'm not to say I'm afraid of gyms. I'm just like, I'm not going there. There's no point.
It's true. Yeah, it's true for a lot.
It's like finding what works for me in every way. Yes. Every single way. Even and none of that costs money. What I'm doing, nothing that I'm doing.
None of it. I'm glad you said that.
None of that. Nothing that I'm doing costs money. Writing down certain things, that doesn't cost money. So everything that I'm doing that works for me, I'm like, okay, I'm not practicing my self-care or whatever works for me right now. Sometimes you feel guilty. You don't give yourself grace for saying, okay, I'm in a space right now. I can't even practice anything. I'm just going. Life is just moving. And those are times when you're hard on yourself because you're like, okay, I'm not doing what she's doing right now. Open up my phone and this person's doing this person's doing that. And now it's back to you feeling like you have to get back on track to what it's like they're pushing you.
Absolutely. It's a pressure from, first of all, again, from social media world.
That is the biggest pressure. And I think I seen somebody say I took a what is it
sabbatical
called? Sabbatical. There we go.
Yes.
I took one, didn't even know I needed, didn't know it was what was the
best feeling ever, right?
Best feeling ever.
Yeah.
Constantly thinking about everything is content. I gotta post. I need to do this.
Stressing out for what?
I gotta do this. And I just like, you know what? I don't even care. When I come back, the same people are gonna be there. I'm not doing nothing special. Yes. Everything is going to be where I found it. Just because I stopped and took care of myself. No one was waiting on me to make my next post, to do the next thing. And the pressure that I put on myself, I realized when I took it all away, I felt way better.
I believe it.
And so social media is a big factor. We all know that, but how do you balance that? But I know you go on your breaks too. You like, no, y'all, I'm cutting this out.
Because
and I feel sometimes it's like, you don't know how much you're constantly shedding. As you grow, as you get older, you're constantly shedding stuff that's no longer needed.
Absolutely.
And you can't carry everything with you. That's
reprogramming, deprogramming.
That's self-care.
If not, you're burning yourself out.
Exactly.
Burning yourself out. Because again, back to the whole different self-care methods. Everybody can't afford essential oils or, massage all the time. And I was reading somewhere and someone brought up a good point, even with aromatherapy. So first thing everyone thinks is like essential oils. Well, really, you don't have to buy essential oils to experience aromatherapy. Find some joy in a certain aroma in your house. Fruits, citrus, peels. A lot of times for me, an orange peel brings back memories as a child. Cleaning.
My mom used to peel the orange peels, save it, let them get hard and burn them. She used to do that. I never knew but it smelled so good. Simple and so free and just so.
Yes. I think it takes a lot of creativity too, because there are so many ways that are free to implement what's already in your space. Connect with people like Teo and myself. And I have no problem helping someone navigate and finding ways and meeting them where they are, because they may need someone to kind of kick up some thinking. Like, where are you? Where's your location? What do you have?
What do you have? That's my biggest. Right. What do you have? And that was my main reason for starting my community around self-care, because I wanted to have those discussions. And it was just small, intimate discussions about where are you now and how because every time I did speak or a talk or anything, that would be the questions. People want to know, where do I begin? And a lot of times, use what you have, use what you know. And sometimes you don't know everything. Ask someone else, or find ways. But
exactly, because you never know what could come about. I want to share this quote, but this quote I found from Eve Rodsky. She said, "An antidote to burnout is having a true boundary." And this means you're being interested in your own life. We all need breaks. We all need time away, or we just need to seek more solitude, not isolating ourselves, but solitude, and connect with Teo, her platform, connect with me. If you're viewing this, on the recording, we'll of course have, ways of contact us, because I would love to help someone out there who is having trouble feeling like I can't have self-care or I can't afford it. I'm willing to help you figure out some free ways to do that for yourself, because you deserve it.
Yes.
You deserve it.
You deserve it. We all do.
Oh
yes.
I said all I can say for this part 1, because this is going to be a part 2.
Yes.
Anything else you would like to share with anyone as far as how to get to you, connect with you, let them hear your page?
I do have a community that is surrounded around self-care, and it is, I created a course as well. And the course just talks about, just starting the process of self-care, just learning how to speak up for yourself, just little small things. If you're interested in getting to know me and the platform, you'll meet other people, other warriors. It's very inclusive and small. It is learnselfishselfcaremanagement.com. Well, MGT.com.
And of course, Sickle Cell Foundation is located in Tallahassee. We're on IG, Facebook, we're on TikTok. I'll also have all those wonderful links at the bottom where you can follow both of our platforms. And I'm so happy again that we got to share this space. It always feels like we get so much in little time, but that's why we keep coming back.
I love these conversations with Carissa. She's amazing. She's amazing, and we just work well with these.
Reflection. Yes, you are amazing. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. This was a great Sunday conversation, Sunday self-care conversation.
Yes.
And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And you and I will talk soon. Okay.
Yes. All right.
Everyone else, we'll talk to you soon.